Alright guys, what's going on? Welcome back to another video. I'm UEP, you are the viewers, and today we're talking about another channel, DC Perspective. He's another, I guess you could say, part of the election mafia on YouTube. And he made a video talking about why Ohio and Iowa are not toss-ups. So, I happen to disagree with this. By the way, he thinks that these states are essentially safe Trump states. Not safe exactly, but they're Trump states. I define Iowa as a toss-up, and I define Ohio as a toss-up. In fact, if you drag my feet to the fire, I'd say there are 4 toss-up states. Iowa, Ohio, North Carolina, and the state of Florida. The biggest of which is probably Florida, followed by North Carolina, then Ohio, then Iowa. So, we're going to take a look at some other predictions, some polling data, and, just general stuff. So, we're going to compare the 2016 Iowa polls to the 2020 Iowa polls. So, right now, the latest polls, and from the best polls, Quinnipiac put Biden ahead by 5 here. The New York Times Siena, Monmouth, which is a pretty good poll, put Trump ahead by 3. But the average, and RCP does a very good job. They did pretty good in 2016 in averaging out the polls and weighting them accordingly. They are putting Donald Trump behind by 1.2%. He was leading in 2016 here. He was leading by 3%. Now, Hillary Clinton did have her leads, back in June, July, she was ahead by 4. She had her peak, she was ahead by 8, but we're not talking about July. We are literally less than 3 weeks away from the election. Less than 3 weeks away from the election, well, Trump, it looks like he was ahead by 5%, 4%, 3.3%. So, as on this exact date, October 15th, I believe, Donald Trump was ahead by 3.3%. He's currently losing by 1.2%. Now, this still puts... Now, if you weight the polls according to how much they underestimated him by, they underestimated him by 6.5%. So, if you want to subtract 6.5% from 1.2%, from Biden, then yeah, you get a Trump victory there. However, I want to say this. The polls have since adjusted their methods, and if you want to look at them, there's a great article on FiveThirtyEight on how pollsters have changed their methods, and in 2016, their methods were awful, and it's entirely possible that 2016 was just a fluke. I mean, polls have been very accurate in the past, and that's why people trusted them, and these polls aren't crazy. I mean, but in Clinton, this is close to the amount Hillary Clinton got. The polls had her at 41.3%. She got 41.7% of the vote. Now, it was Trump that they underestimated. This time around, they have Biden. What's the average? They have him getting 47.5%. I think that could happen, and I think he'll get around 48 to 49% of the vote, losing by a tilt margin to Donald Trump. And I say this in my video where I predict the election. Again, stuff has changed since then. Again, and I say this, and I say, well, look at this. Donald Trump is winning Iowa, and if you want to look at other stuff, yeah. Donald Trump is winning Iowa. Let's Talk Elections is another good political YouTuber. He said Donald Trump is going to win Iowa by a tilt margin. I don't think that I disagree with DC Perspective that Trump is not going to win Iowa. But I think saying that's not a toss-up is a bit of a stretch. Now we're going to look at the JHK forecast, which happens to disagree with me. Donald Trump is going to win Iowa. The latest polls have been good. And Donald Trump, originally, I said this was a likely Republican state. So did a lot of people. But since then, Trump has really taken a hit here. He went from a 1 in 4 chance at winning to basically a toss-up. So he's lost. He went from, 73% to now 47%. That's not good at all for him. And we ought to remember, this is back in March. This isn't, 2018 where he still has a 45% approval rating. No, this is back in March. So it's still a long time ago, but it's certainly something to take a look at. And right now, Joe Biden is the favorite to win Iowa according to the JHK forecast, which is a reputable forecast. They did very well in 2018, especially in the Senate. They were only a few House seats off, and they also got many key Senate races right. They got Montana right. They got Arizona right. They got Nevada right. They got Missouri right. They got what else? They got Pennsylvania right. They got West Virginia right. Although Pennsylvania wasn't really a key Senate race, but I don't know why I brought that up. But the JHK forecast seems to agree with me that Iowa is essentially a toss-up. They said chances of an upset is getting one pair, or basically a coin flip. So saying that Iowa is a toss-up, I think, is fairly reasonable. Now we're going to talk about the state of Ohio. And Ohio has long been considered to be a bellwether. It's been right in every single presidential election since 1960, where JFK beat Richard Nixon. The spread in Ohio is a bit better for Trump. He's ahead by 0.6, and in 2016, he was underestimated by the polls by a very big amount. In fact, Hillary Clinton, she had a lead in October. Now Donald Trump took that lead away from her on this basically exact date, October 16th. But Ohio, I do think Trump should be considered the favorite here. However, we have to remember, John Kasich endorsed Joe Biden, which he didn't endorse Hillary Clinton in 2016. He won 63% of the vote when he ran for governor in 2014 when he ran for re-election. There are going to be a lot of Kasich voters who went for Trump in 2016 who are going to switch over to Biden because Biden is much more appealing to them than Hillary Clinton. Remember, Hillary Clinton made no effort to reach out to these people. She essentially was, she acted like part of the establishment, and whether you think that she is part of that or not, I personally think she is part of the establishment. That doesn't bode well for a lot of these voters. And 2016 was a populist year. People wanted a populist. Trump fit that message. He campaigned in Ohio. His whole message was bring jobs back from China, He appealed to these people. Now, Biden, yeah, he isn't making his whole message bring jobs back from China, but he's certainly doing a lot better than Hillary Clinton. So I think that when you look at the polls, you can say, okay, well, the polls underestimated Trump in 2016. They're going to do that again. Yeah, I don't think Biden's going to win Ohio, but I think it's very, very close. And the JHK forecast literally has been going back and forth within the past 24 hours. Biden was the favorite right here. Then Trump overtook him right here. So we are literally seeing a shift day by day, hour by hour. And this is exactly the definition of a toss-up. It's flipping a coin. That's a chance of an upset. You flip a coin. If it's heads, Biden wins. If it's tails, Trump wins. That's exactly what you can do here. Now we're going to take a look at the 538 forecast, which I'm going to try to find. And we're going to first start by talking about the state of Ohio, which, again, is rated as one of the closest races. So Ohio, Biden 51 out of 100 chances. And originally, Trump was the favorite to win here, and I think that's fair. But the latest polls that are affecting the forecast, Biden ahead by 1, Trump ahead by 3, Biden by 1, even, Trump by 2, Trump by 4, Trump by 4, Biden by 5. A+ rated pollster, Biden ahead by 1. A- rated pollster, Biden ahead by 5. B+ rated pollster, Biden by 1. And even some more right-wing polls have weighed in on this. I mean, Rasmussen, Trafalgar group put Trump ahead by 4, but Rasmussen put Biden ahead by 4. So these polls, I agree, they're kind of hit or miss polls. They're either right on the mark, and for example, Trafalgar was right on the mark in Michigan in 2016. They were the only poll that put Clinton behind by 1. Or I think they had her behind by 2. But Rasmussen was also was one of the best in 2016, and Rasmussen literally put Biden ahead by 4 here. Fox News, they put Quinnipiac put Biden ahead by 1. Fox News put Biden ahead by 2. Quinnipiac, Biden ahead by 8. Quinnipiac was within the margin of error, or 2%, or 2% one way or another, since 2000, since the election of 2000. Quinnipiac is one of the most respected pollsters in the nation. So we can debate whether polls are accurate or not, but they certainly do paint a picture, and denying that polls are real is like me saying, okay, well, every single one of these forecasts is wrong, because polls are right in nearly every state. In 2016, they were right in all but 3 states, or all but 4 states. So 46 out of 50 states, the polls were right, and that's not something to disregard. So, yeah. So Ohio, Trump is the favorite. We're also going to look at the state of Iowa, our closest Iowa. Trump, they give Trump the edge here, which I agree with. I'm not saying Biden's going to win these states. I'm just saying that they're toss-ups. Biden, 43 in 100 chance of winning. I think it should be more like 45. Remember, the Democrats, they won the statewide House vote in Iowa in 2016. And after this, we're going to talk about one more thing, but I want to look at another model. Lean toss-up. They give Biden a 74% chance of winning Ohio, a 67% chance of winning Iowa. This model was incredibly accurate in the 2019 gubernatorial elections. So I think that this model it leans a bit to the left, and I think that they address that. They say consistently doubted. They say we're left-leaning, but they were right in 2019 in every governor's race. They were one of the most accurate models. So all the predictions seem to be saying that Iowa is a tilt Republican state. I mean, my prediction, Iowa tilt Republican, Ohio tilt Republican. LTE's prediction, Iowa tilt Republican, Ohio tilt Republican. But a lean toss-up says they're both blue. 538 splits. Ohio is blue, Iowa is red. We can debate that all day. But I don't want to debate you whether Ohio's going to go blue or red. I think that Ohio's going to go red. I think Iowa's going to go red. But saying they're not a toss-up, I think that's a bit of a stretch. And I do want to talk about one more thing that DC Perspective did address in their in his video. He said, okay, well, we can talk about the polls, but we also have to look at where these candidates are holding events. When has Joe Biden visited Iowa? When has he visited Ohio? No, he's visiting New Hampshire. He's visiting He's visiting Pennsylvania. He's visiting Nevada. He's playing defense in states that he's supposed to be winning by 10 points. You know, the latest poll in Pennsylvania put Biden ahead by 10. All right, we can play that game. Joe Biden doesn't need to win Iowa or Ohio. He doesn't need to win, Arizona. He doesn't need to win Florida. He needs to win the Rust Belt. That's it. That's all he needs to do. Donald Trump needs to make up a lot of ground. And if the polls are right, he loses in a landslide. And I'm not saying they're right, but, Donald Trump is, he's campaigning in Florida, Ohio, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Minnesota. Mike Pence went to Minnesota. So I think that you can say, okay, well, Biden isn't visiting Ohio. He's going to be expanding the map. Okay. Hillary Clinton did the same. She made the same mistake. She visited Utah. She said Utah was in play. It kind of was, but she ended up getting destroyed there. I think Biden, that campaign is trying not to repeat the mistakes of Hillary Clinton. She got cocky. She thought Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Minnesota, she thought they were locks for her. They weren't, and I think Biden's trying not to make the same mistakes again. By campaigning there, he might even win by 10 points. He doesn't care how much he wins by. He just needs to win those states. He can lose Arizona. He can lose Ohio. He can lose Iowa. All these states we're talking about. As long as he wins the states he's campaigning in. Nevada, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan. So this notion that that Biden secretly thinks that these states are locks for Trump, I just think that's not true. I mean, you can interpret it however way you want, or whatever way you want. But the fact of the matter is, I think Biden knows that all he has to do is win 3 states. And in campaigning in Iowa and Ohio, yeah, he can do that. He can win those states, but he doesn't need to. So I think that's what I'm trying to say here. So that wraps up my analysis. I hope I condensed this video well enough. I'll probably do some editing at the end. But again, guys, thanks for watching this video. Be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Turn on post notifications so you never miss a single video. See all the links in the description. We got Twitter. We got Discord. I have a Patreon if you'd like other perks. So thank you, and I'll see you all in the next one.